Hey guys, Asher coming at you today, watcher of Realms, sending some positive vibes, some love your way, especially if you need it out there today. Hey, today we're going to take a look at the top heroes in the game for Gear Raid 2. So I did a video similar to this for Gear Raid 3, and honestly, I wasn't sure if you guys would enjoy the content or not. Is it too niche to talk about heroes in one specific area of the game? But I'm happy to report that you guys almost unanimously were positive about the video idea, so I've decided to continue the series. We'll go to Gear Raid 2 to Gear Raid 1, and then who knows, we'll get funky, go to the Tide or something like that, or maybe Artifact Material Raid. Let me know which area of the game that you're most focused on, or maybe an area where you're most struggling inside the game, so I can tackle that after Gear Raid 1. But without further ado, we have Gear Raid 2 here, and I actually really enjoy Gear Raid 2. You know, what about you guys? Do you enjoy it? Do you not enjoy it? Which is your favorite to play? I think Gear Raid 2 is cool because it has the specific timing in terms of cycling in and out our heroes and really thinking about which heroes we're going to utilize in each key area, whether it be support, tankage, or DPS. Now on today's list, I do want to focus on two of those areas, support and tankage, right? Because DPS, I feel like it's a lot more flexible. However, I'll start out with just kind of sharing, well, it's probably right here in popular heroes, right? I'll share a few of my personal favorites here, and that would be Vierna, Ardia, Wrath, Silas. I mean, these are probably obvious to you, right? That's why I'm not including them. Even Hatsu, I really love, not on the popular heroes, but absolute damage dealing beast. But really it just comes down to, you know, who are you using? Who's your best equipped marksman or mage? Any of them will kind of do, you know, some are better than others, obviously, but I want to focus on the supports and the tanks, because that's when we look for specific, very specific things to succeed in Gear Raid 2, and of course we'll talk about those in today's video. Let's start with some healers, right? Because there's one specific healer in this game that Gear Raid 2, she makes it 1,000,000,000 times easier, and that is Sadie. Sadie's so freaking good for Gear Raid 2. Her talent grants passive damage reduction by 15%, or physical, excuse me, and magic damage reduction by 15% as well, which is really nice. She does have an AoE heal, but what really the highlight and what makes her so amazing for this area for Gear Raid 2 is the Ode to Time. Ode to Time is her ultimate ability. During the ultimate, allies in range take only 50% of incoming damage. But you can get it to 60%, allies damage taken during the ultimate minus 10%. So minus 60% of incoming damage when you skill it up. They will lose HP equal to the remaining damage over 8 seconds. So this Ode to Time, if you time it for the Golem Shriek or the Earth Shake, depending on what stage you're on, you're going to be able to keep your heroes, especially your tanks and your healers, down on the map. You do not have to cycle them in and out. So that makes this entire Gear Raid 2 so much easier because of this Ode to Time. She's a pretty decent healer and buffer. She has HP based healing to all allies in range. So I think that Sadie is actually, I don't know if she's underrated, but when people talk about the best healers in the game, I don't think they mention Sadie. They mention a lot of Leia, a lot of Elowen, a lot of, you know, some of the others that we'll be talking about. Speaking of Elowen, she's number 2. Well, there's no particular order here, but she's the second hero that we're going to talk about today. Elowen's just amazing, right? She's got the AoE heals. Unfortunately, it's attack-based healing. I love those HP-based healers, man. They're so much easier to keep alive, and stacking up HP just makes all the sense in the world as opposed to stacking up attack on somebody who's not doing damage. Are you guys with me there? Either way, I'm really complaining too much about one of the best heroes inside the entire game in Elowen. Similar to Sadie, well, not really. Sadie's range is more like a Dolores, whereas Elowen's does extend in front of her further, but then one tile behind her as well, which makes for some interesting kind of positioning there where you can, you know, encompass whoever's behind you as well. She has the Grace of Nature, right? It dispels all debuffs from all allies in range and restores HP equal to 40% of this hero's healing multiplier per second for 10 seconds. Of course, we can get that up as well vis-a-vis skills. And then we have the little wood elf that can heal as well. He does cost, I think 5, but he's a good little healer that can heal outside of her range, which is very nice. And she's a rage restoration hero, right? This is what, I mean, Elowen, You could say she's a top hero pretty much everywhere in the game, but you're gonna need a lot of healing, probably, right, in Gear Raid 2. I'll show you, by the way, my Gear Raid 2 team at the end of this video. I should have mentioned that at the top. But the Rage Restoration just brings everything together and makes her just one of the most capable healers and supports in the game. Dispelling, heals, Rage Restoration, in a great ultimate for some burst healing, if you will. My favorite healer, though, for Gear Raid 2 is Vortex. I mean, favorite just raw heal and shielder. Let's put it that way. Sadie is my favorite, my biggest lean on hero. He's amazing because of how amazing he is everywhere in this game. Vortex is far and away, and I own Elowen, I own Sadie. He's still my most used healer. I guess just so versatile. His range is insane. His shields and his heals are great. He's an HP-based healer as well, which I love. He's got that wide range as well. I mean, there's not much to say about him other than you don't have to position him in the middle in Gear Raid 2. You position him off to the side. I position him off on the right-hand side. He still covers both lanes and anywhere else that you need to cover on the map. He's in a class of his own when it comes to raw healage in this game. So those are my 3 supports that I wanted to start with. All of them are equally amazing in their own ways. Let's go to some defenders though, guys, because defenders, I mean, you're gonna need to focus a lot on defenders. By the way, I have her on as an honorable mention, but maybe you could argue she should make the list. Constance. I'm conflicted about Constance. I have to be real. The inspiration from a defender wasn't as amazing as I thought it was going to be, honestly. It's hard to build, you know, with a lot of attack and a lot of tankage and focus on healing, and sometimes the positioning can be a little bit unorthodox with her. But I will say that she's a great buffer, victorious, and she's very unique with the inspiration as well. I think she's definitely worth a closer look in a lot of different areas, specifically Gear Raid 2. So honorable mention there, but my man Baron is on the list, right? So the first defender we talk about is Baron. You know how much I love Baron. If you've seen any of my content, I have a whole guide on him, and he routinely is a reoccurring figure on our top 10 lists and all our tier lists on the channel, right? He's got this beefy, awesome shield in the evil armor. Cast a shield that can absorb damage equal to 70, make it 100% when skilled up of his max HP for 10 seconds. When the shield's broken, he does some AoE damage as well. But then on top of that, he has unkillable, right? He has unkillable for 4 seconds, which I don't need to tell you guys how valuable that is inside Gear Raid 2. Baron really truly does stand on his own with other legendary defenders in the game. I consider him a top 5, definitely top 10, argue top 5 defender in the game, and as an epic that's pretty dang cool. When shielded by evil armor, increases his attack and defense by 15% each on A1. On A3, his Immortal Wrath duration goes up 3 seconds, and then recovers 50% HP on A5 at the end of the Immortal Wrath duration. Again, Immortal Wrath is passive ability that has the unyielding, that has the unkillable. Really good tank, and for obvious reasons, one of the most used, certainly in Gear Raid 2, keeping him alive. Speaking of keeping him alive, of course, the other epic defender that we always talk about here on the channel is going to be Olog. What more can I say about Olog, guys? What more can I say about this dude? Best shield in the game, arguably, in terms of self shields. He's tanky. What can I say? I mean, he just stays alive more than most legendary defenders. He doesn't have that unkillable aspect that a Baron does, but where he lacks on that, he definitely makes up in his sheer raw tankage in his shield, right? So, I mean, Olog, what more do you want from me? He's an amazing tank anywhere in the game that you need a tank. King Harz, for me, was so much better than I was expecting him to be, honestly. I hadn't heard a ton about him. Like, I knew who he was. He's a lord after all. But I think I was only really familiar with him being like a pretty competent tank that has some nice kind of freeze and shield synergy. He's a super capable tank, right? Number 2, when this hero has any type of shield, reduces physical damage taken by 15%. He has this built-in damage mitigation. Like I said, it all revolves around shield.
I'm sorry, did someone say my name?
Every time receiving a shield, increases shield strength by 35%. He's a perfect pairing combo with Vortex. They're both Northerners, so he benefits from the Lord bonus as well. But hey, everybody benefits from the Lord bonus, which is super cool and really what puts him over the top to be one of the best Gear Raid 2 defenders in the game. I've said this before, but Spirit of the North, it's awesome. Defense of Shield faction allies increased by 20%. So think about it, man. Everything that this guy is doing with Shield, and he's giving everybody, not just faction allies, everybody a shield of 15% of their max HP routinely throughout the duration of the battle. I mean, in Gear Raid 2, you're taking some heavy freaking damage everywhere. So that is so useful to just give everybody on the map, no matter the range, no matter if he's even played. You don't have to even play King Hars, and he's throwing the shield out. Faction allies get a 30% shield, and obviously the basic attributes. So whether you're looking for some freeze control, whether you're looking for just a really great tank with built-in damage mitigation who gets better over time because the shield strength increases by 35% and it can be scaled up, he's a great defender. I don't even know what he does on his awakens. Who's lucky enough to have a fully awakened Lord, right? Or even like the awakened 1, 2, 3. Let me know if you're one of the lucky ones. Fury of Winter generates a shield to protect all surrounding allies within one adjacent tile. Well, that's amazing, A1. Deals 100% extra damage to controlled enemies, and then increases King Hars' healing effect by 100% if he's shielded. Wow. I wonder if anybody in the world has an A5 King Hars. I'm sure some whale does, right? It's funny, sometimes you think you spend a lot in these games and then you look at some accounts and you're like, what the heck? And you know what, all I have to do as testament to that is you can look at the leaderboard during like a summoning event or whatever, the global leaderboard, and like you might think, even me, like I might do a 200 rare summoning video and then maybe like throw in 5 to 10 legendary summons in there, and I'm like, wow, that was a lot, you know? And then you look at the leaderboard and I'm like 1/20th of the top 10 or whatever. I'm not even on the top 100. Anyway, I digress. Regulus here. Regulus is interesting. He was like, I want to say like maybe my third legendary I ever summoned on my account, and I didn't build him for a while because I was like, I don't know why. I just was very underwhelmed by him for no reason. Anyway, he's really good, specifically in Gear Raid 2. Increases Regulus's max HP on his ultimate morale by 40% while sharing 40% of the damage dealt to allies surrounding him for 12 seconds. It's a beautiful ally protection ability, and it beefs him up by 40%, which is massive. And of course, we can get that way up to vis-a-vis skill crystals. So, I mean, he's just one of the best protectors out there in the game, truthfully, and it's nice because we're building him to be super tanky anyway, right? But it doesn't stop there. He's got some stun built in, which is nice. On his Lionheart, though, when his HP drops below 10%, he summons a Holy Shelter and becomes immune to all damage for 8 seconds, one time per deployment. I mean, that's amazing, right? And again, it just plays to Gear Raid 2 with the roly-polies coming at us, dealing insane damage. That's why like these heroes like Baron, like a Regulus, are so great. Regulus has the built-in damage mitigation, the unkillable, if you will, or the immune to damage. He has that. It's at 8 seconds, can get up to 12 seconds. That's a long time. So that's beautiful for Earthshake and Golem Shriek. That is great for both Earthshake, Golem Shriek, and the roly-polies. And then he has the damage mitigation for the Earthshake and Golem Shriek. It's a really, really good defender there. Specifically, again, he really shines in Gear Raid 2. When morale is activated, it inflicts defense increase on allies in range by 10%. It's great A1. On A3, when on the field, all defenders gain physical and magic damage reduction by 10%. Fantastic. And when Lionheart is triggered, restores HP to full. That's his second passive, the unkillable. That's really good because he's already at 10% HP. So he gets a full complete heal after that. All right, we're not done yet, guys. We got to talk about Brokir. I want to give a quick honorable before we go to Brokir. I feel like I'm snubbing Toreador a little bit too much. He's a great lord. He does have a self-revival, which is really handy. You can use all kinds of defenders, honestly. This guy, Titus, probably my most controversial video. He's the most expensive unit in the game at 31. He self-heals and he self-revives, right? But he can, I mean, He's not the best because he's so damn expensive, right? But similar to a Torador, he has that revive ability. He's super capable, right? I just like Brook here a little bit more. Same thing with Regulus and Baron in Olog. Anyway, and we can only name 10 champions. The top 10 after all, even though I'm sneaking in like 50 honorable mentions for you guys. Brook here's really cool. He's got a lot of free synergy as well. Definitely a top defender in the game. I've had him for a while. Really happy with him. But similar to a lot of the, you know, Regulus and Baron and everybody else, when receiving fatal damage for the first time, he gains freeze and becomes immune to all damage for 8 seconds up to 12. Receiving damage has a 10% chance to inflict freeze on 2 enemies. If this hero has freeze, the chances will be increased by 20. So when he's in that frozen state, not only will he not take damage, but he's going to freeze everybody else, right? Which is really nice. Brook here is, again, with that unkillable, or that unyielding, or at least the damage mitigation or reduction or so, we're going to go away from defenders and we're actually going to go to the fighters, and we're gonna go all the way down to a rare champion. You know who it is, Decimus, man. Could not have a Gear Raid 2 list without Decimus. He's a rare. You don't even need to build him. You don't need to put any gear on him. You don't need to do anything. You just play him, and when HP drops to 0, the hero remains alive and continues to fight for 6 seconds, right? He's a rare, so you might as well just skill him up, right? And get it for 8 seconds. I mean, 8 seconds allows him, similar to why he's so good for Guild Boss if you can't break the shield, right? He's gonna be the one man left standing. So you can throw him out there during the Golem Shriek, during the Roly-Polies, during the whatever. Whenever you're gonna take insane amount of damage, he can be your guy to kind of just sit there and just stay alive with 0 HP, right? So Decimus is definitely worth holding on to. Everybody can get him easy enough. I tell you, he's going to be a real big help, not only for Gear Raid 2, but also, as we mentioned, for Guild Boss. All right, guys, and probably the #1 hero, I would personally say, for Gear Raid 2 is going to be Volca. Just got to have her on your roster, right? Because at A1, Allies revival time is minus 25%. Now, unless you have Sadie, and some teams that even do have Sadie, including my own, you're going to be rotating a bit, right? You're going to be retreating, withdrawing heroes, and then redeploying after the Golem Shriek, after the damage, after the Roly-Polies, whatever. This Ally Revival time, minus 25%, I cannot overstate it enough. That takes a standard 60-second revival down to a 45. Quick math, I know, you're here for the math, right? It's a game changer. It allows you to do things that otherwise, obviously, you wouldn't be able to without her on the team, without this specific Awakened one. Everybody can get Volca through the storyline, and everybody can awaken her. I forgot which Tide level it is. It might be like 105, around that territory. Let me see if I can find it here. 105, Volca Soulstone. She was even she was the #1 most used hero on that list, right? Another honorable mention to Dolores, who just shines absolutely everywhere. She can be good for getting more damage out of everybody, doing a nice like support role of keeping everybody alive. But really, I'm gonna go with the 10 that I shared, plus all the honorables that we slipped in there, guys. Let me know if I snubbed one of your most used heroes in Gear Raid 2. But before we let you go, of course, the big unveiling of my Gear Raid 2. I'm gonna show you my Gear Raid 2 19 team, and kind of how it all works, right? So to run you through it quickly, right? I have a whole video breaking down this team and kind of how it works. It's not super rocket science or anything like that. It's not a new strategy that I developed all on my own. We're actually having Ardia kind of lead things out here just because her DPS is so good. You could use a Wrath in this type of a role, or you could just simply use like an Olog plus a DPS, right? Most people probably use 2 heroes in that role. The boss comes in, he does the Golem Shriek, he does the Earthshake. I come in here with a Decimus, I think. I let him take the roly-poly damage, and then I go Olog over here, I go Baron over here, I have Vortex set up on the right, I have Ardia here for DPS, right? Doesn't have to be Ardia there. She has that beautiful DPS that goes the entire left-hand side, but I have Sadie right in the middle, right? I popped her ultimate, so every time all that damage comes in, I have Sadie, I have Elowen, I pop their ults, and I don't have to retreat anybody, right? It makes it so much easier, and that's how you can, I was gonna say cheese it with Sadie, It's not really cheese. I mean, it's the highlight of her kit, right? She mitigates damage. You can use Regulus in a similar fashion. However, sometimes you do have to retreat outside, right? I'm still withdrawing and retreating different heroes throughout the fight, mainly my DPS, but I'm keeping this kind of, I don't know, diamond formation in the center alive the entire run. That's how I cleared Gear Raid 219 using that strategy, and it worked really, really well for me, obviously. It is a Sadie specific strategy though. Otherwise, I would have to rotate the entire time. Volca did help me out in that battle, but she'd be crucial if I didn't have a Sadie, and I had to clear everybody off the map every time and just keep a Decimus or a Baron or whomever out there alive. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching, and as always, take care, guys.